Hey, what's going on with y'all good people? I want to welcome you to the Melanated Travelers Podcast, the podcast that shatters stereotypes that takes you on a captivating journey through the eyes of people of color as they explore the world. Join us as we challenge the misconception that travel is only for a certain demographic. Embark on a vibrant adventure with each episode as we share stories that showcase the rich experiences and perspectives of melanated travelers. From the banks of Cartagena to the mountains of Bali, the Melanated Traveler paints the picture of a vivid image of the global journey, one story at a time. Hosted by yours truly, Aston R. Williams, a podcast for the people. Welcome. All right, guys, what's going on with y'all? This is Aston Williams coming to you again with another amazing episode. Episode number 10. Episode number 10. We getting up there. So you already know what we call ourselves, aka the New Green Book, aka the number one travel podcast in the world. And I have a special guest in the building. I have Miss Toni S. Jackson in the building, hailing all the way from Jamaica, born and raised. She's currently an emergency medical physician. So actually, you're the first physician I've actually had on the show. Yeah, you're the first one.
That's pretty dope.
She currently lives now. Look, for my Louisiana people, I apologize. She currently lives in the A. She currently lives in Atlanta, right?
That's
She
right.
currently lives in Atlanta, and in her spare time, outside of work, you'll normally see her all over the globe, traveling globally. So first and foremost, I want to welcome you to the show, and thank you so much. Thank you so much for getting on today.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I consider this a privilege to be on your show. I'm excited. I had a chance to listen to a few episodes on my ride to and from work, and I think you're onto something here. So some good stuff.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I think I want to start off like this because I think the listeners would really want to dive deeper because for one, you're the first physician I've had on the show, and then two, you're the first person that I we I we had episodes where we spoke briefly about Jamaica, but being a person that's from that country, you have a totally different perspective than any other guest on the show, right?
Right.
So I want to sit on that for a while. I want to talk about Jamaica. Um, I just thinking about Jamaica, just the names that come to mind, Montego Bay. I think about don't take offense to this, okay? This is an American thing, but Hostella got a groove back. I think about that
Oh
movie.
yeah.
I think about Winston. I think about the raft. The raft that some men get jealous of.
Uh-huh.
The raft guys get a little, little touchy feely with the.
Play.
Yeah. But I want to hear Jamaica through your eyes. So like being born and raised there, just your perspective on the country, and obviously the tourism is high, in those places, Montego Bay and other areas of Jamaica. But I wanted to get your perspective on your country.
Okay.
Since you're from there. So
So
being, oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
no. So I have a very interesting relationship with Jamaica. Obviously, I'm born there. I was raised there. I left the island officially when I was 15, but been going back and forth since then. And I'm now 35, and I've been back quite a bit and spent a portion of my year there every year. And I think the thing that impresses me the most is so much about it has changed in such a short time span. Um, I feel like one of the things that I oftentimes get asked is, "Oh, where should I go on vacation in Jamaica?" And it's a very difficult question to ask because I don't experience Jamaica the way that a tourist does. And so sometimes you would think it would be easy for me to tell you things to do in Jamaica, but I don't experience Jamaica the way a tourist does. So when I go to Jamaica, Jamaica is as much as Louisiana is home for you, Jamaica is home for me. So I'm used to doing things like going to the bank and paying taxes and going to my friend's house or going visiting my mom at her job. So it's a very different experience. I think sometimes people forget that Jamaicans have normal, regular lives just like everywhere else in the world. I think there's this imagery of, you have a Rasta man on the beach and he has a blunt and Bob Marley's playing in the background and nobody has any jobs and everything just airy. And I think there's this there's the allure of that. And then you have people
Mm-hmm.
rafting and rubbing your bottom. I think there's a mysticism that's associated with Jamaica that I think tourists are trying to capture that. But in the same vein, Jamaica also has a very normal life. It's civilians, the people who live there, who are from there, they have jobs, they go to church, they go to school, they do all the same normal things that you do. So sometimes it's very challenging for me to tell people what to do, especially because there's a safety profile that Jamaica
Mm-hmm.
has, that we were once the murder capital of the Caribbean. So there's also that notion that, oh, it's so dangerous. So they want the inside scoop. Travelers want the inside scoop, but they also want to do so safely. And I'm at odds with that because I'm also coming in as someone who's lived there. And so it wasn't until I was an adult that I got the opportunity to do some of the things that tourists do. Because I grew up very
Right.
poor. So I didn't have the opportunities to like go to these places that I saw on postcards before I even know that
Mm-hmm.
was in Jamaica. So it's just a very interesting experience. I think sometimes too, because of some of the safety issues, people go to Jamaica and they spend a lot of their time behind the resort walls, and they don't come outside and they don't get to see the rest of Jamaica because, there's fear, or the hotel may be funneling them into certain activities which they feel represents Jamaica, but that's just a very small subsect of what Jamaica really is. So it's hard. It's a tough one. I feel like I oftentimes struggle to give people recommendations on what to do in Jamaica and where to go and that sort of thing. Because for me, when I go home, there's no greater joy for me than to go eat food that is cooked at my house and to lay on the
Right.
beach and I don't need anything else apart from that. I don't need to do any excursions. I don't need to go marijuana hunting. I don't need to do any of those things. So for me, the nostalgia of Jamaica comes from just reminiscing on things that I grew up doing and foods that I grew up eating and places that I would go to that are not fancy or elaborate, but they hold a special place in my heart. So
Mm-hmm.
it's intricate. And I feel like it's funny that you bring this up because that's one of the things that people will notice about my website. I've been to a lot of countries in the world, but there is no Jamaica on my website. There's no Jamaica itinerary on my website for sale. And that's because I'm currently working with a few people to see what I can put together that curates an experience for a foreigner that is an intricate blend of what a local will see and also takes into consideration some of the safety elements. So it's in the works, is what I would say for those people who are asking, where is the Jamaica itinerary?
No, no, no. That's perfect, and I'm actually that you shared that viewpoint because that leads me to my next point. Everybody travels so different. Like for me, I'm like a kid at a candy store listening to you because I love to go where tourists don't go. So if I
Right,
tell you some of the countries that I've been to, you'll be like, okay, I see how he travels because I like to
right.
go the opposite direction. And I must say this: I have never been to your country. Here's the thing. Here's the thing. I will say this: it's the perception. It's the Western perception of
Mhm.
Jamaica, right? Now you do have people. You do have men that normally go by themselves. Not too many. Not too many I know, right?
Right.
But normally you would see uh, girls, either girls trips or couples go.
Mhm. That's for sure. And because
Saying
there's
some
a
saying
market.
some neither saying some neither. I haven't been yet.
Yeah, it's definitely, it has the allure of that. It's definitely well known as a couples destination. There are resorts that are couples only. You have the world renowned Hedonism resort. So if that's your
Mm-hmm.
thing and you're into that sort of thing, then that's for you. But there's also a market, I would say, in Jamaica for kids and families now too, which so outside of girls trips, outside of couples and honeymooning and that sort of thing, there's also another fun and active side of Jamaica that is currently being developed or is developing. So there's something to be said about that as well. So we
Oh, that's
welcome
perfect.
all comers come to Jamaica.
If I had to go, if I say this wrong, correct me the pronunciation. If I pronounce it wrong, I wouldn't go to Montego Bay. I would go to is it Negril? Negril? Negril?
Negril, you're saying
I
it
would
right.
go to Negril because it's like less touristy in my opinion. Maybe I'm
Interesting.
wrong. I don't know.
Jamaica is not that big.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Jamaica is not that big. Montego Bay is kind of our second capital. Um, I grew up outside of Montego Bay, so I spent my high school was in downtown Montego Bay, but I would have to travel maybe like 30 to 40 minutes to get home in the city that I live that's outside of Montego Bay. Um, and I grew up in the country with like pigs and goats and chickens and intermittent
Me too.
electricity, and you have to carry water and that sort of thing. And there were wells on our property, and there were natural springs on our property, and we had what's called mango walk and star apple walk, which are just large orchards or places where you have fruit, where we just go out and pick during the summertime. So that's kind of how I grew up. Um, Again, I wouldn't expect a tourist to come to where I grew up. That would be very strange,
Hmm.
just to have tourists there, because it's just a place that locals live. Um, and so I don't know. Montego Bay has a definite tourist element. There are resorts that are there. There are beaches that are there. They have nightlife that's there. The famous hip strip is in Montego Bay. So there are lots of things to do there. There's good food there. Um, I hear you on Negril. Another big contender is Ocherius. Those are big names. Negril and
Mm.
Ocherius are big names. So if you're looking for rustic, you might end up in a problem if you choose Negril and Ocherius because they're becoming well known. I would say if you really want a rustic experience, you need to head on out to Portland. And Portland is where you kind of get that secluded, off the beaten path kind of feeling. Um, and I went there recently with one of my girlfriends who lives in Jamaica still, and it's definitely the vibe I think people are hunting for. Not to bash Ocherius or Negril, I think that they're wonderful places to visit, but I think they're definitely becoming more commercialized, and tourists are now more aware of them, and so you might not get what you're looking for.
Man, look, this actually a 2 part statement, not a 2 part question. It's just a compliment. It's just a compliment on your country. So, a little background on myself. I actually was a collegiate javelin and shot put thrower,
I
and
ran track in
a lot
college.
of. Oh, okay. Did you?
Yeah,
Wow. Okay, it's a small world. Okay.
yeah,
So my teammates, most of my teammates were from from other countries, mostly primarily Jamaica, Trinidad and Tobago, and Canada.
uh huh,
But for whatever reason, it's something I noticed, and for my friends, my teammates that's hearing this, don't take offense to this. This is something that I've seen with my own eyes, like and from traveling around the world too. It just seems like for me, which is a good thing, it's the chip on the shoulder that Jamaicans have, no matter where they at in the world. I'm talking about it could go from athletics to business to being business owners to being a physician to it's like that chip they have on their shoulder. Where does that come from? That it's just that chip. They're so proud. They're so proud to be Jamaican. They strive to put Jamaica on the map in a positive way
yeah,
outside of athletics. That's why I led with the athletics
yeah.
statement. But
Gotcha.
just knowing so many different people from that country,
Yeah.
that chip that y'all have on your shoulder is just it's
I,
something
I
amazing.
think
It's
what you're
contagious. It's
referring
contagious.
to, I think what you're referring to is nationalism, and I don't think there's any country that has more national pride than Jamaica.
Hmm.
We take our name, we take our brand, we take everything very seriously. I don't know if you're heavy on social media, but anytime anybody tries to give us anything that we don't subscribe to, it's like the whole hive goes buzzing. We're very um, we're a very succinct group of people, and we take a lot of pride in the things that we're good at. So like food, we feel like we own food. Like we have
Hmm.
cuisine that nobody else, no matter how you imitate it, Jamaica will always own it. I think athletics is another area that we're pretty strong in, and we have a lot of national pride. Like I don't know if you've ever been to an event where Jamaicans are running or participating in any athletic activity. It's the most rowdy and obnoxious group of people. We take that very seriously.
Yeah, I
Uh,
want to go to the try. What is it called? The Try Games. I forgot the name of it. I want to go next year.
yeah.
It's where y'all compete against other islands.
Okay, okay. So
Yeah.
Olympics is coming up in Paris in this year. And I'm
Hmm.
telling you, when I tell you it's already getting it's getting a little razzle dazzle already.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, we take athleticism really, really strongly. Um and music is another area that we're pretty strong in, and we take that pretty seriously. We have a pretty strong contribution to dance both locally and internationally. And so we make our presence very known for that as well. I
Hmm.
think the question that you asked, to answer it directly, it's we we're raised with that. So there are many things. No matter how poor we are, no matter how we're struggling as a people, no matter political corruption and government, no matter what crime is, one of the fundamental things that Jamaicans can fall back on is that we are in fact Jamaican, and to be very proud of that and know that nobody can take that away from us. And wherever we go, we represent that. And when you said chip on your shoulder, I think what you mean is whatever we do, we try to do it very well, and we try to excel at it,
Yes.
and we try to make ourselves known for it, and always toss back, oh, remember that, and we're Jamaican.
Yeah,
So
always.
if that's
Always.
a chip, if that's a chip that you're referring to, I'm in agreement, because that's a little sprinkle on the top. That's a little razzle dazzle that we add to everything. And yes, as a matter of fact, I'm Jamaican. So
Yes.
we definitely pay homage to our heritage, and that's something that we take very seriously, and we're raised that way. It's something that you grow up seeing. It's something that you feel. It's something that you represent in your day-to-day life. I think every person who meets me, at the end of the day, they should leave knowing that I'm Jamaican. Either if it's from the way
Right.
that I talk, is it from the questions that they may ask, that they get to learn something about me. It's a point of pride. Um, to know that that's a part of your heritage. So yeah, I agree with you. We do have a little chip on our shoulder.
Yes, it's something I noticed. So you
Yeah.
talked about food. I gotta bring this. I gotta bring this up.
Okay.
Look. Louisiana.
Oh Lord.
Louisiana. We got skills now. We got skills.
Mhm.
But listen to me. Oh my God, that food. Oh my God.
That's
Besides, because everybody knows the oxtails, right? So
mhm.
besides that, like give us some like local dishes that people should try. You know, people should try when they're in the country, or they may find some local spots around. You know, I know you live in Atlanta, and I know they got some spots there, or you know, just some dishes that people should try when they're in your country.
Okay. I think the list is very long. I think the list is very long because I'm a foodie, so I can name foods for days. Everybody who knows me knows I love soup, but not soup in the way that traditional American people interpret soup. I think soup is actually more like what Louisiana people would call gumbo, which it has
Gumbo.
a lot of things in it. So it's not just liquid like a tomato bisque or a chicken noodle soup where it's kind of brothy. It's actually more hearty like a gumbo. And so, but there's so many different variations of it. You have chicken, you have beef, you have all sorts of intricate things that they can do with soup, and that's actually my favorite food. And people are be like, "Oh, you drink soup when it's hot?" And I'm like, "It's just how I was raised, and it's just one of my favorite things, and that's kind of how we grew up eating." So I always recommend people try some form of soup. Chances are, if you go to Jamaica, somebody's on the side of the road is going to be selling soup. So I would always recommend trying that. Um, Everybody always talking about jerk chicken and oxtail, which is kind of the things that we are internationally known for. Obviously, that comes with a complement of some form of vegetable, usually cabbage and carrots mixed together. That's kind of the staple vegetable, and then rice and peas. So you'll get those traditionally served together.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, one of the things that, believe it or not, um, is one of my favorite things to eat when I go to Jamaica is fried chicken. Believe it or not, because we do this
Come
fried
on.
chicken. Yeah, so we do fried chicken in Jamaica a little bit differently. I still have yet to taste fried chicken that tastes like Jamaican fried chicken, and we serve it with rice and peas again and vegetables. And usually, you'll hear two camps of people. Some people want curry chicken gravy on it, on that box of food, and other people want oxtail gravy on that box of food. So you'll hear two camps of people. Curry chicken is pretty popular as well, but we can go off the beaten path for things that are traditionally known that people can identify, and we can start getting down into rundown and ackee and saltfish and fried dumpling and bami and saltfish. Um, Lots of things, and then we can go over into the dessert menu, and we can start talking about drops and grater cake and blue draws and dukunu. I mean, there is so many, potato pudding, potato pone. There's so much food. I could talk about food for an episode
Mm.
by itself.
The
um
bread with the fruit in it. Oh my God. Oh
yeah,
Jesus.
breadfruit. If you want to talk,
Oh.
we can talk about breadfruit. We can talk about patty. We can talk about so many things. There's so many foods that we have that nobody else has them, or if they make them, it's an imitation of our food, and it's never the same. Hashtag Jamaican.
Put your stamp on it already.
Yeah,
Hashtag
chip
Jamaican.
on the shoulder. Yeah.
So you've been you've been all over the globe. Like you've been all over the globe. What's some of your God? You've been to so many countries. Like,
Mhm.
let's just start off with this. Like, are you the type of traveler that looks at just looks at the map and say, hey, you know what, boom? Or are you like more of like that spontaneous person, say, you know what, ooh, that's a good deal. Let me book that. I'm gone. How do you go about traveling? How do you go about finding the deals? Are you dedicated to any airlines, or is just wherever?
Man, all in the business. So my traveling is very interesting. I'm a very methodical person, so I try to plan as much as I humanly possibly can, and
Mhm.
so I'm not very spontaneous. Mostly because of work. So work, I have to plan the work on the schedule first, and then build the trips around that. So I only know my schedule like maybe 30 days in advance. So
Mhm.
it's a little bit more complex for me to just randomly get up and go somewhere. And so I tend to plan. And how I pick the countries, I kind of just open up Google Maps and go to the travel portion of Google, and I see which place has the hottest deals for a place I haven't been to yet. And I just kind of decide if it's in the budget or not. And then I go to that place. I do have a couple merchants that I try to stay with. Marriott
Mhm.
is definitely the hotel chain that I stay with exclusively. I'm not an Airbnb-er. My thought is if I get murdered in a foreign country, I want the Marriott to be able to find my body. I don't want for them to be looking for me at somebody's house. I also like my bed to be made every day. So some of those benefits don't extend to Airbnbs. So I tend to stay in the Marriott chain. Um, and when you develop status with a lot of these companies, the benefits supersede what you can get from Airbnb.
Mhm.
Um, so Marriott is my hotel chain. National is my car rental company when I choose to drive in international countries. Um, and again, we rack up the large amount of benefits from that as well. I live in Atlanta. Delta is the hub here. So I exclusively fly Delta as much as humanly possible. Sometimes it's not possible. And so I have to
I'm
fly with
so
them.
jealous. I'm so jealous of you right now. I just want you to know.
Why?
And besides New York, Atlanta is one of the biggest airports,
Mhm.
and LAX. It's one of the
Yeah.
biggest airports, like international airports. You can go anywhere.
It's a city.
Little old New Orleans, little old MSY airport. I
Yeah.
always got to go to Florida for layovers, and then I
Right.
gotta go. Then I go to where I need to go.
Right. And
Yeah.
honestly, it's one of the reasons I haven't left Atlanta because the airport. I can literally
Mm-hmm.
go anywhere on one flight.
Mm-hmm.
Most places are trying to lay over in Atlanta. Some places Orlando. They have layovers all over the place. But the hub being here is a huge perk for why I stay here. And once again, once you develop status with them, they treat you pretty nicely, and they give you a lot of travel benefits. So that's kind of the big three. So how you fly, where you stay, and how you drive, I think are the big three.
Speaking of Delta, the CEO made a terrible decision that
Uh-huh.
he later said he was sorry for with the Sky Miles.
Yeah.
The way he was going with it was not going to work for loyal
Right.
customers like yourself. But
Right.
it
Right.
just wasn't going to work.
Yeah. I think I think it became problematic when they couldn't support the number of people with status inside the lounges, and I think that was the first um, marker that something wasn't right. They weren't doing
Mm-hmm.
something right. Um, but yeah, we'll see how the new program works. I think it's going to be more difficult to attain status, um, but we'll see. We'll see. Some of this stuff we won't know until it actually rolls out. So we'll see.
Right, right.
Yeah.
So like that's how you go about finding like any advice that you would give somebody or your strategy on, and I'll tell you mine how I look to see what's going on in the country. But
Yeah.
um I personally, and I'll say this statement, and I know you're gonna agree, and then I want your feedback. But
Okay.
no matter what type of stigma a country has, whether it's dangerous or safe, I feel like people should get vital information that they need prior to going to those countries, so they could kind of know how to maneuver around. So I know my way of doing it first is where the government gives us all the information. I just go to state.gov, find a country, see if it's
In
in
our
between a
yellow.
one. Yep, a 1 and a 4.
Mm-hmm.
9 times out of 10, I go to countries that are 3 and 4s. I know
Mm-hmm.
I'm crazy, but I look and I see what's going on, and then I utilize. I actually utilize a TikTok strategy. So I'll look up that country on TikTok and look at some different videos and reels. Have my own perceptions.
Right.
Um, Depending on the country, I 9 times out of 10 I don't have like an itinerary. I just go with the flow, unless
Okay.
I'm like booking a tour or something like that.
Okay.
But how do you go about getting information on the country?
So my mother doesn't like this about me, but I'm probably one of the most fearless people that you will meet. Um, I am of the philosophy, and this is probably more spiritual than you intended to ask the question for. I
No,
believe
no,
that
it's fine.
people will hurt you if you make yourself open to receive that kind of negativity from people. But I think largely speaking, people not trying to hurt you. I'm not saying you should go into these countries and act a fool, and if some from a random taxi man comes to you and says, let's go off into the forest, you're going to run away with them.
Mm-hmm.
But if you move with a certain level of, I think, confidence, and you don't come into this with like a spirit of fear. I think sometimes when people travel, they assume the worst thing is gonna happen to them, and they're gonna
Yeah.
get robbed and shanked and all this, all this kind of crazy stuff. Um, and I just don't live myself. I don't live my life in with that kind of fear, and so the extent of my research before I travel usually is go on to the website that you just described, which is travel.gov, and look to see if there's political unrest. That's a bad
Mm-hmm.
one. Try to avoid the places that are under political unrest. Um, and to kind of see what the recommendations are from the United States government for travel to that location. I'm not big on TikTok. My friend put me on games. We were going to go to Ecuador together. And she said, girl, you have to go on TikTok and look and watch all the videos and see and see what the country has to offer before you go and check out all the places to see. And I was like, all right, cool. And I went on there and I'm like, this is one person's experience. And
Mm-hmm.
so it's hard for me to take one person's experience and use that to judge what my experience is going to be. This person might be a white person, I am a black person. They might be male, I am female. So it's hard to use their experience to judge my experience will be. And so I just use it as information in the pool. Okay, this one person went and they had a hard time with X. I may not have the same experience. I might go and have a wonderful time. The same is true for people who look at what I post online. They may go and have an entirely different experience. And so I usually take the stuff that I receive from social media, specifically TikTok, with like a grain of salt.
Mm-hmm.
And then I kind of just, you said you don't plan your trip, but I plan my trip. So I know in the mornings, okay, boom, I'm gonna go to the gym. Every day for me starts with going to the gym. So I'll go to the gym, and then I'll have like 2 excursions booked throughout the day if the day can fit 2 excursions, depending on the length of the day. I'll look up ahead of time, like things that are of, I guess, monumental value, like things you should see while you're there, to say that you've truly seen the place. Like I would never go to Egypt and not see the pyramids. Like that's why I'm here.
Right, exactly.
So stuff like that, that things I know I want to see, and I kind of overarching plan for my trip. But whenever I'm traveling by myself, um, I have enough flexibility where if I wake up in the morning and I don't want to do something, I just don't do it, and it's not bothering anybody. So I love that about my trips. I plan them, but I also reserve the right not to go on any of the things that I have planned for myself, based on how I feel from a vibe standpoint. Um, so yeah, that's kind of how I do my thing. I don't know if that answers your question or not.
No, no, no. You good. You answered it perfectly. Yes, I'm more the yes. I am like the spontaneous. Like
Right.
I I don't know. I lean. It depends. It depends. Like if I'm going with a group, which honestly I prefer to go travel by myself. That's just me.
Same.
But when I do go with a group, yeah, yeah. Like I'm like the most introverted, extroverted person you'll ever meet in your life, like ever. Like like I like to be alone, but I agree. Sometimes you need those chill days too, like to
Yeah.
just sit out on the porch. I like to be outside, sit out on the porch, feel the wind, good book, and just relax and just chill.
But huge reader, so I'm
Um.
with you on that one.
Oh, great, great, great.
Yeah.
So how do you like well you plan ahead? You plan ahead, so I would automatically assume that you pack ahead too. Or you more like you oh I got you.
Oh man, you estimated wrong on that one. My life is very, very busy. So invariably I find myself packing like the day before or the night before.
Yeah,
Sometimes
that's me too.
sometimes if the flight's in the evening, you might even catch me packing on the morning of. And I don't really worry about that because I have two beliefs regarding this. The first belief is that I have a system in place. So because I also travel for work and I travel for pleasure, I have packing down to like a science. And you can check out my blog post that I recently put up about what I pack in my personal check carry-on and what I pack in my check bag. So I have that down to a science. So I feel like for most places that I'm going, I can be packed in 30 minutes. So it's not problematic for me. And the other school of thought is I think people panic about packing because they have made association with material things that they feel that they cannot live without them if they're in a foreign country and they don't have them easily accessible. I have no attachments whatsoever to any material thing that if I don't have it, I feel like I can't go on or I can't
Right.
live or I feel inconvenienced. Also, I should have said 3 points. My third point is whatever is I forget to put in my bag, I'll buy it when I get there. If I don't have it, I'll buy it when I get there. So I don't really stress about packing so much. I just kind of do what I can, and if something gets left from out of the bag, which is very rare, then I'll get it when I get there.
I started off being an overpacker.
Mm,
I'm not a materialistic person either.
yeah,
Um, I normally it depends on where I'm going, but I might buy like one new outfit for a trip, maybe
right.
one. But other than that, like I am the biggest procrastinator. Oh my god, I'm so horrible. I
Yeah.
would literally get no sleep the night of, and I would be in there packing, scrambling. I don't forget anything, but I
Okay,
overpack. I always overpack.
gotcha.
I had to put on like 5, 6 shirts to get in the plane just to get my bag under 40 pounds.
Clothes.
Like, man, I'm like, oh my god, man, this
No,
is ridiculous.
I know,
This
I
is
know.
this is
Women traditionally have that problem because you're like, oh, I have to have so many outfits for
yeah.
trip, and I need options. I'm not like that at all. I pack exactly what I'm gonna wear on Monday. I'm bringing one outfit for the morning, one outfit for the evening. So by the time the trip comes, I know that either I'm going to move what was to be worn on Wednesday to Monday if I don't really feel like wearing that. But at the end of the day, it's the same amount of clothes that's in the bag that will match the number of days and what I think I need. So I'm not an overpacker at all. I'm pretty spot on. I go with a clean suitcase of clothes and I come back with all dirty clothes, nothing that was unworn.
Man. So I just yeah, I'm getting better. I'm getting better. So I actually just recently got back from Colombia. I was in
Okay.
Cali for almost 2 weeks.
Okay,
Shout out
cool.
shout out to Cali, Colombia, #1 salsa capital in the world. You should definitely check out the videos, and they'll
Yes.
convince you to go. It's amazing. It's an amazing country. I'll be back in December for the Christmas festival. But anyway, while I was there, I felt good. I packed everything. Everything was finally packed. I forced myself to bring my smaller suitcase on
Uh-huh.
purpose. On purpose.
Okay.
And I'm so proud of myself. So if you are overpacker,
Let's
that
take a
maybe that's
moment.
another way to head. Yeah.
Go ahead and clap it up. You should be proud.
Yeah. That's another way to hack. If you're a overpacker. So let's get into some of the I guess not necessarily cultural norms, but you've been all over.
Mhm.
Any country like that really you were going, but the culture really shocked you, not in a negative way, but in a positive way. Like, wow, like I never knew like this country was this dope. Like, give
Hmm.
us one of those countries. Ah ha ha! Hit you with a good question. Ah
Yeah,
ha.
you hit me with a good question because I was ready. I was ready to answer the question of which country had I been to that I probably wouldn't go back to because the
Oh, we
culture.
gonna get to that. We gonna get to that. We gonna get to that. I
Um,
want to talk about a country that really shocked you. That maybe it might not be on the radar of some people that's listening, because typically the deals go to the more touristic
right.
countries, and I know you veered off the track. I know you veered off the track many times. So, and if it's not just one, if it's difficult to just answer one country, you could throw out a few that maybe shocked you.
This is a tough question. Oh man, that shocked me in a positive way. Um, I have to tell you my favorite country. I just cannot. I feel like there's never a conversation that I cannot talk about Thailand for. Thailand is my favorite country. Probably seconded by Guatemala. Um, those are my top
Mm,
two. And
interesting.
I I don't know. I think the reason I love them both so much and they're so dear to me is that I had very moving spiritual experiences while I was there for both of those places.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like those places represent so much peace for me. And I feel like for Thailand, I went there, the people just embraced me in such a way that I just felt like I could move there tomorrow. Um, I think as a Black female traveler, it can sometimes be challenging because you travel the world and you are now, whether you like it or not, a token Black person. You are the
Mm-hmm.
representative Black person for all Black people. I remember when I went to China, people were asking me crazy things like, "Are you Michelle Obama? Can you bless my baby? Can you?" Is your hair made from wool? Can I touch your skin? People wanted to take photographs.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I went during the Olympics. So like all the people from
Oh
out of,
yeah.
I went during the time where all the people from the countryside had come down into Beijing, and so I was for a lot of people the first Black person they'd ever seen. So it was kind of crazy. Um, so I did not feel that in Thailand. In Thailand, there was so much love and respect, and um, like they were able to put a bridle on their curiosity. Like it was never
Mm-hmm.
offensive the way that they engaged with you, and they were always polite, and I always felt like you are welcome here and you are respected here. um and then to kind of dig down into why I love it so much, the food was amazing. The food was amazing. The food was amazing. I didn't eat a bad meal while I was there. So they also have a strong focus on family and treating everyone as though they're a part of a family, and um, treating every single person that they engage with as if that's how they also would like to be treated. And I know that
Mm-hmm.
probably is triggering a biblical tenet for those of us who are raised in Bible teachings, but do unto others as you'd have them do unto you is a big thing for them. And so um, I felt really good while I was there. For me, the food makes a trip. So if I go to a country and I have bad food, I don't want to go back. um,
That's facts.
so food is big for me. And then how I feel there as a person of color is another thing for me. Um, and just kind of vibe check. Like while I was there was nobody that was rushing. There was no capitalism. There was no um which meeting you have to go to. There was no
Yeah.
urgency. That kind of strong American tenet of you have a meeting at this time and you have to go to this meeting, and then after this meeting you have another meeting, and it's like everything in America is always so go go go. And
Mm-hmm.
Thailand was one of the first countries that I went to that I was able to say, you know what, I'm not gonna go go go. I'm gonna slow slow slow. And they respected that. They respected that, and they loved that, and they embraced that, and they poured into that, and it was just wonderful. I think I would, if somebody asked me tomorrow to sell my house and sell my car and move to Thailand, I would move to Thailand tomorrow.
Wow. Wow. That's
Yeah,
heavy. That's heavy.
yeah.
That's
I
heavy.
really
Did
have.
you go to Phuket? Did you go to Pattaya?
Yes, I went to Phuket. I went to Chiang Mai, and I did the capital, um,
Ah, okay. Bangkok.
Bangkok. Bangkok.
Okay.
I think Bangkok gets the bad rep that people associate with Thailand. You know, the
Mm-hmm.
prostitution and the men running away from their lives, from their wives, or not lives, well, lives and wives. The promiscuity. So there's I think that's when people think of Thailand and they want to think of the raunchy things. I think Bangkok is probably what they're thinking of, but there's so many other places to see that um I think are truly beautiful and truly, I think, really characterize the people and the culture more so than what you may experience in Bangkok.
My
I think
brother, my line brother, actually just last year proposed in oh no, was it this year? I'm sorry, Jock, if I forgot, bro. I love you. I'm coming to the wedding this year. But he proposed to his fiance in Bangkok actually during a
okay.
fireworks show.
Oh,
During a fireworks show. Yep.
yeah. So
Mm-hmm.
that's cool. The second contender for me is Guatemala. I went to Guatemala with on a girls trip.
Oh, that's interesting. Oh, we gonna dive into this one. That's interesting.
Yeah. It's a vibe. It's a vibe. Definitely 100%. I think that again, I went. It was one of the tougher places to get to because we stayed on Lake Atitlan, and
Ah,
it was quite a trek to get out there. But when I tell you, the food was amazing. The food was amazing, and the people there were just so soft and gentle and kind. Like I didn't meet one person that seemed like they were mad at the world or angry or upset or in a bad mood or having a bad day or like everybody for the entire time that we were there just was pouring out positive energy, just pouring out positive energy. And I mean that these people are from different socioeconomic backgrounds and they're not notoriously known to be the wealthiest people in the world. So I think that was one of the things that really stuck with me, that some of the things that we think we need in order to be happy, we actually don't need any of those things.
right. We
Because
don't. Oh, say that again, please, for the people in the back. Say that again. Say that again,
some of the
please.
things that we think we need, especially as Americans, to be happy, we actually do not need any of those things to be happy. And I think Guatemalans are a prime example of that. And I really bonded with the group of people that I was with. I also spent a lot of time during introspection. I felt well catered to. The food was amazing. It was just overall an excellent trip from start to finish. Um, so I those are my big two that I the culture shocked me, but it was more so that the culture was reflecting on kind of the way that I have chosen to live my life and maybe some changes that I need to make in my life in order to achieve happiness. Um,
Yeah,
so
yeah, definitely.
so those were two big ones for me.
That's really shocking. The reason why I was smiling ear to ear because you don't normally hear a lot of travelers talk about Guatemala like
Mm,
at all.
mm.
Neither their other neighboring South Central American country, which is one of my favorites, El
Oh,
Salvador. El
gotcha.
Salvador. El Salvador is one of those countries that are similar. I've never been to Guatemala. I do plan on going this year
Yeah,
within the next 2 months. And see, now you got me want to go. I'm gonna go
yeah,
within the next 2 months,
it's amazing.
and I wanna check it out. But I just it's just amazing to me that a lot of people don't know how many um the indigenous people of Guatemala, the
Mhm.
pyramids, like they have so many
Yeah,
pyramids in Guatemala that a lot of people don't even know. Like they don't
yeah,
even know. It's full of pyramids. Full of them.
right. And I think too, one of the things that really shocked me to kind of harp in on food because I'm a foodie, the food tastes different. The food tastes like
Mm,
it has love in it. The food tastes like it don't got no pesticides in it. I ain't worried about no growth hormones in it. I
mm,
I felt like I was eating clean. Like no matter how much I ate in excess, I was not harming myself because the food was just all natural,
yep.
like just it just tastes different. It tastes like the food that was unoppressed. I feel like
Yep.
in
I'm glad
America
you brought
we
I'm
eat a
glad you
lot of
brought that up.
oppressed food.
I'm glad you brought that up because like I told you, I just got back from Colombia. I lost 12 pounds while I was away. And I didn't skip a meal.
Right. It's because too Americans live a very sedentary lifestyle. And I think
Mm-hmm.
while we were away, we were hiking and we're walking and we're dancing and we going on this trip and that trip. So I think while I was there, every day I hit 15,000 steps easily without any effort, without I'm not going to the gym, quote unquote.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just a different lifestyle. It's a completely different
Yeah,
lifestyle. Most of
definitely.
the places that we went to, we walked. So that's very different from America and especially Atlanta, where you drive everywhere. So it's like it's
Mm-hmm.
very easy to burn these calories that you're eating, and then the food is not as bad for you as it is here. So I'm not bashing America. I live here.
No, no, it's true.
I'm
It's
just
true.
saying.
I'm not bashing them either, but I like for me, how you say Thailand is like your place. For me, Colombia is mine. So like the whole thought process of America is to establish myself, obviously move up in my career,
Mhm.
go up that ladder. Besides that, these businesses that I have maintain those, get to a good, because retirement is not an age, it's a number. Once that number is hit, I'm gone. I'm out. It's a
Right.
wrap.
Yeah.
I
My
found my
hope
happy
is for
place.
early retirement, so maybe I can go run off to one of these places.
Yeah, yeah.
Maybe I'll
Now
go run.
we but to shift gears. Dun dun
Yeah.
dun. Now we but to talk about
Hello.
we but to talk about the countries that you were very disappointed in, the countries that you would never go again. And then before before we get off, we got to talk about that story of
Oh
Detained.
yeah.
We
I was wondering when we would get to
yeah,
it.
yeah, yeah. Oh, it's coming, it's coming, it's coming.
Oh
I don't know if
man.
you want to start off with that, like, man, like what
Oh.
happened? What happened?
So, so I can tell you real quick, probably one place that is going to shock a lot of people that I will never go back to. I will never go back to Egypt. Um,
You're not the
I
first person that said that.
Oh really? Okay.
Uh huh.
I thought I was in the minority group there. I'm very liberal, which means that I am strongly believing that everyone should do whatever it takes to make them happy, and I am not going to judge you for whatever you pursue on your journey to happiness, whatever that may look like for you. And sometimes this comes at odds with people's religious practices, and social practices as well. And as someone who is very liberal, sometimes I have to check those beliefs because everyone is not going to have the same belief system as I do about being liberal. And so they probably have more constraining beliefs. And that was one of my issues with Egypt. While I was there, there was a lot of sexism that I had to deal with. That when you live in America, it's almost like you think you have it bad, and then you go and then you go
Right.
somewhere else where it is markedly worse, and
Mm-hmm.
and then you really, I feel like the sexism that I experience in America, it's very like hidden, cloaked and daggered, right? And
Right.
then when I went to Egypt, it was wide open. It was wide open, and I took it made me be like, damn, I really was taking America for granted on the sexism, right?
Mm-hmm.
I definitely need to go back home because things like who enters a car first, what they think a woman should look like, what they think a woman should dress like, um, how you should behave as a woman, who should enter the car first, who should enter the building first, who should stay in the penthouse. It was a lot of stuff that I had to address. Um, and again, I want to also use this as a plug for whenever you're traveling, just spend a few minutes and get to know what the cultural climate of a place is. Because I think one of the reasons why Egypt shocked me was because I didn't do my homework in terms of
Mm.
I didn't look up culturally what I was getting myself into. And so it was very jarring for me when I got there and I was like, oh damn, they wait. Everybody asking where
Mm-hmm.
my husband at.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody asking. I can't have. I remember one place I went to, and I promise you, my dress was like right below my knee. And then people told me I need to go back inside. They told me I couldn't eat at the dining hall in my own hotel where I had paid the bill. So, um, it was just crazy. It wasn't crazy, Tanya. I need to use better words. It was startling. It was
Mm.
very startling for me that people go on to live completely normal and productive lives with these constraints that I don't observe. So it was tough for me to swallow. Um, and there's no right or wrong to it. That's the other thing. That's just the way that they choose to live their lives and practice. It was just very jarring for me because at the time I had cut all my hair off. So I had a low haircut. I was at my peak physical fitness. So I was very chiseled. And I was repeatedly asked, are you a man? I got subjected to security searches at every single checkpoint that I went to. And there was a lot of cajoling and being laughed at by airport staff and them asking me if I'm a man repeatedly. It definitely a one and done for me. I know the
Yeah.
pyramids are cool and all the other stuff that they have are cool, but I could have definitely Wikipedia'd that and Google Earthed it, and I'd have been cool. Um, I did not enjoy myself while I was there. So I probably wouldn't go back. I just didn't have a level of comfort there that I felt like I could be myself. Um,
Right.
so so I probably wouldn't go back. And then to segue into probably why you how you met me is
Oh yeah,
because
you broke the internet. You broke the
Yeah,
internet with this one.
oh man, did I? Did I break the internet? So the France fiasco. So I'm a U.S. citizen. I carry a U.S. passport. My mom is a um, permanent resident of the United States, and she doesn't carry a U.S. passport. I actually did her application last night for U.S. citizenship. So shout out to anybody who's still following me on this debacle. Um, she's on her way to becoming a U.S. citizen. Cross your fingers. Um, but she carries a Jamaican passport, and I booked this trip. Like I tell you, I'm a big planner. I booked this trip like a year ago for her 60th birthday, and my mom has always wanted to go to Europe, and so I booked a cruise for Greece, Croatia, and um, Italy. Unfortunately, or I don't know if it's unfortunately, but one of our layovers was in Paris, and we bought our tickets and booked our flights, our hotel, excursions, everything. Boom, everything is booked. But it completely slipped my mind that my mom doesn't have a U.S. passport, and I
Mm.
think a couple of things could have prevented this error. Is whenever you book a trip, I think you have to, and this is definitely my point of growing, is that 2 months before the trip rolls out, you got to do a hard stop to check to make sure that you have all the things that you need in order to travel on the trip. I did not do that because I'm living a very busy life, and it totally ruined my mom's 60th birthday. But I learned a lot from the experience. So that would be my biggest recommendation. That check, 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 because at the end of the day, it's your responsibility as a traveler. Nobody's going to be checking for you. And I think that's the biggest thing that I took away from this experience. So get to the Atlanta airport. My mom flies in from Tampa, no problem. She comes to Atlanta. I meet her in the airport. We get to the Delta counter. We show them both passports. They're like, oh my God, you guys are going to have so much fun. Happy 60th birthday. Bye. We get on a plane. We fly to Paris. We get to Paris. The guy at the desk, right before we go into what's functionally TSA, says, I won't accept your boarding pass on your phone. You have to go back upstairs and get a printed boarding pass from Delta desk. So I go to the Delta desk. Again, we hand them the two passports. They say, yes, you guys are cleared to go on your trip. Here are your paper boarding passes. We go back downstairs. We go through security. They check our bags. Everything is good. And then we get to what's called like Border Patrol, or their version of Border Patrol. And the guy flips through my passport real fast, says US passport, boom, he stamps it, he gives it back to me. He flips through my mom's passport the front way. He looks quizzically, and he flips through it the other way, and he says, where's the Schengen? And I said, what? I'd never heard this word in my life. And everybody's like, what kind of rock do you live under? I think a part of it is that I'd been to Europe so much with my US passport that I didn't even know that this thing exists, right? So he's like, she doesn't have the Schengen. And I was like, well, where do we get one? Because a lot of places that I've been to, you get visa on entry. So I was like, where do you get one? And he's like, no, you can't get it here. You have to, it takes months to get it or whatever. She has to go to her home country
Wow.
and get it. And I was like, damn, all right, well, this trip has flopped. Let's go back home to Atlanta and we'll rally and we'll pick a different trip and we'll go somewhere. It's her 60th birthday, you know, we're not just going to let it go out like that. The guy's like, actually, no. We're going to detain your mom, and we're going to keep her in a hotel, is what they said. They would keep her in a hotel under police supervision.
Man, what the hell?
Yeah, they're going to keep her in police supervision until we can send her back home tomorrow. So I said, what do you plan to do with me? They said, you can do whatever the hell you want to do. They said, you can go to the trip that you were intended to go on because you've been cleared to travel, or you can go back home. And I was like, I'm not going to leave my mother here. And I think this is the part that upset everybody because they're like, oh, you're being defiant. You're talking back to the police and whatever. And I was like, at no point in time did I ever raise my voice. Did I act out of character? Did I use profanity? I just expressed an opinion. I think sometimes people want you to, and I think this was the vibe I got from a lot of people who responded negatively online. They just want you to, because something bad has happened and you've made a mistake, that means that you must cower in dread and act like you're afraid and and don't advocate for yourself and don't say anything because you're in the wrong. I think even if you're in the wrong, you can say, hey, I'm not okay with something. Or, hey, how can we fix this? Or how can we work on this? Which was my approach. I was like, all right, this bad thing is happening. How are we going to fix it? Anyway, I get separated from my mom. I'm sitting on the floor in this big white room. I'm calling lawyers. I'm calling Royal Caribbean, who we were supposed to cruise with. I'm calling everybody, right? My mom is detained in another room. While she's in there, they take her medicines away. They take her money away. They tell her she can't use her cell phone. So she's in there. She can't communicate with me. I can't communicate with her. Um, so I'd say maybe 20 to 40 minutes, somewhere on the order of that. The numbers are blurring now. It's getting fuzzy in my brain. She's back there and I don't know what's going on. But during that time, I'm like making calls and whatever. I see like people going in and out of the room where they have her, and I'm like asking them. Almost none of them speak English. I'm asking them like, "What's going on back there? Can I talk to her? Is there any progress?" Blah blah blah. Finally, the guy who had the two officers who were back there with her, he comes out and he's like, "We're gonna do you guys a favor. We're gonna try to get you both back on the same flight back to Atlanta today. But the flight is gonna be leaving in like 20 minutes." So now we had to run back to they separate us again. I had to run to the Delta counter, get me and my mom's tickets, and then I get reunited with her and we get on the plane. This whole time, everybody's like, "Oh, it wasn't that bad," and I'm like, "These guys are armed,"
Right.
and yeah, these are armed officers. And even one person online, they were like, "Why you acting like you scared?" And I'm like, "Cause I am." Because how I live my life, I'm not every day. I'm not interfacing with somebody with a firearm. That's just not my
Mhm.
reality. And I think that that's very threatening. And I think I think and everybody, one of the big things that came up online is that I was making this about race when it's not about race. Even the other day, someone posted on the post, even though the post is now, I think, functionally dead. Someone was like, "You're making this about race when it's not about race." Two things come to mind on this topic. Um, I hate when people who are not of color comment on issues regarding race, because you will
Mhm.
never have my experience. You will never be able to stand in my shoes, and you will never be able to tell me, you'll never be able to truly have my experience. So I usually immediately disregard those opinions. And the second thing is, a lot of these people who came online and made comments about race, I was like, "You weren't there, so how you know?" You weren't there,
Right.
so how you know? I'm really interested to see how you know and you wasn't there. So that was my other thing. I definitely feel that race played a role in this. It may be very nuanced, but I think definitely there were some race things going on there. Um, I I found it very intimidating. I think the whole process was intimidating. I feel like there were a lot of emotions that were going through my head. There was a lot of fear. Um, I feel like even though all of it, I was able to stay calm and try to just work through the process. And ultimately, my goal was like, okay, money's being lost here, but my goal here is not to lose my life, and to get back home safely. And so I kind of operated from the headspace of, okay, what do I need to do in order to get home safely? And one of the questions I always ask myself whenever I'm in a difficult scenario is, who has the power here? And
Right.
I don't have any power here. This is their country, these are their rules, and you had an infringement of that. And so now the ball is in their court and they have all the power. So you do what they say. Um, Ultimately, we made it back home. We spent her birthday here on US soil, and we celebrated doing our own little things and spending some more money. And because I
Mhm.
didn't want mom's 60th birthday to go uncelebrated. Um, I also we got well, now I can update you, since that I think the case is now functionally closed. Delta gave us all our money back for the flight.
That's great.
Yeah,
Great.
yeah. So Delta gave us all our money back for the flights. They also gave us a $500 certificate. Um,
Go
and
ahead, Delta.
I know they're doing that. They're trying to do a little something. Um, and Royal Caribbean gave us back the excursion, the money that we were spending on things like internet and dining package and drink package. They gave us back all the money for that. Um, but they did not refund us the actual cruise fare.
Mhm.
Our hotel refunded us our hotel. So Marriott came through, they refunded our money. They didn't even have a conversation with me. They're like, "All right, girl, bye. Here, your money back."
Right.
So that was easy. Um, so money wise, things went okay. I lost some money, but not as drastic as what we had spent. So we got a large portion of the money back. Um, I feel that this experience, the reason why I shared it online, initially I shared it because I felt as though I can't be the only idiot in the world who doesn't know this. And so I shared it because I wanted to save someone from having a similar bad experience.
Right. Right.
So that was my motivation for sharing it. But when I tell you the trolls were trolling on this post,
Oh yeah, they everywhere. They
they're
everywhere. Trust
everywhere.
me.
And I mean, half of them probably don't even got a passport, but we will,
No.
we gonna let it slide. We gonna let it slide.
Mm-hmm.
I feel that there was a large portion of people who they were in the camp of serve your right, sucks to be you get whatever the police gives you. I mean, there were a lot of unkind comments, but you're attention seeking. I mean, all kinds of accusations based in nothing. They don't know me, they don't know anything about me, they weren't there. And then there's the other camp of people who I really, really appreciated because they provided insight into um, how you should travel, which I think was a big point as well. You have to check because Delta is not going to check, because Royal Caribbean is not going to check. It's your responsibility to check. So I valued those opinions and the ones that were thoughtfully placed online. So I really appreciated that because I think they also helped to promote the conversation. But I also feel like the post really broadened my scope of thinking on something that I really hadn't thought about before. Like, there's a large group of people online who truly hate France.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, they really, really, really hate France. And I didn't realize it was so bad because I'd been to France before and I never realized that those sentiments were so strong. A subset of that population are people from Haiti. And man, they was swinging punches on that post. They wasn't happy. They wasn't happy at all. And obviously there's cultural reasons for that and historical
Yes.
reasons,
Yes. Yes. Mm-hmm.
which I completely understand the sentiment. It brought up a lot of things like how you travel, and these were some of the issues that came up on the post. How you travel when you have disparate travel documents from the people in your cohort that you're traveling with, because I think that was one of the components of my mistake. So I have the documents that allow me entry, but the person I'm traveling with doesn't. How you navigate that? I think one of the other big topics was stress when you travel. Like how you travel, how you manage when things don't go as planned when you travel, and how you handle
Mm-hmm.
uncertainty when you travel. That was another big one. Um, I just felt like I learned so much from the experience. I feel like I'm a more educated traveler now because of the experience. I feel like I tightened up a little bit. Know that, and what's funny is where people are like, how did this happen to you? You've been to 44 countries and one observer state. How did this happen to you? And I feel like it's largely ignorance. I think when you don't know something, it's so easy to make a mistake.
Yeah.
Um, and and I think again, if you hear nothing else that I say today is research, research, research. We talked about research in the context of knowing the cultural and social norms of the country. You must also spend the time to do your research on the requirements to enter the country. So those are
Mm-hmm.
kind of like the big things that I took away from the post. Um, I I also want to shout out China K Promotions. She always laughs when I do this, but she really handled a lot of the engagement online, because it got to a point where it was like a lot of negativity and handling a lot of negative comments online. And she just tapped in and she just handled everything with grace. She asked me to just really just engage with the positive posts where I feel like people could learn something or other people could benefit from what was being shared. And then she just handled all the negative stuff, which she did with such style and grace. I just have to laugh. Sometimes when I when I read the
Oh.
comments she was answering, I was like, wow, she has so much more tact than I do.
Yeah. Yeah. She's awesome.
She's
She's a
awesome. She's truly awesome.
what we call in Louisiana. She's a pit bull in a positive way. Like
Yeah, yeah,
she's a go getter. She's a person that got your back.
yes,
And
absolutely, absolutely.
yes.
And so
Yes.
she's gonna beat me up if I don't plug tripswithtawny.com. So every time we do this, I have to laugh because she says you need to say tripswithtawny.com at least 3 times. So tripswithtawny.com, tripswithtawny.com, tripswithtawny.com. That's where you can find out all the stuff that's going on with my blog and where you can go and purchase itinerary for trips that I've taken. I just got back from the Maldives 2 days ago. So the Maldives is up on there now. So you can go and check that out and go and purchase the itineraries for that.
How was it? How was Maldives?
Maldives was amazing. I think Maldives is everything that it is cracked up to be. It's the photos, it's the food, it's the culture, it's the
It
people.
is. It is. It is what we thought it was. Huh?
It is as
Yeah.
advertised.
Yes.
And I love when that happens because then it's almost like you set you set your expectations here and it's like it just blows them out of the water.
Mm-hmm.
It was an amazing experience. I usually take a couple trips every year that are just reset trips, like trips to just get my mind right, refocus, like make goals for the upcoming year. And so I turned 35 on September the 22nd. So this trip was my refocus trip.
Oh,
To get,
happy belated.
thank you. To set my intentions for the 35th year. And it was a beautiful place to do it. It was a
Mm.
beautiful place to get your mind right because everything else was perfect. The food was perfect. The people were perfect. The activities were perfect. The weather was perfect. I mean, just 10 out of 10 across the board. Definitely one of the more expensive vacations I've taken, but 100% worth it. If I had to do it over again, I'd do it the same way all over again.
Wow, that's absolutely awesome.
Yeah.
And it's one thing I do too. We talked about dedicating to certain airlines.
Mm-hmm.
Is it any cards in your arsenal that you
Mm-hmm.
use on a regular basis to accumulate points?
Oh, yeah.
I know some of my friends, some of my traveling friends, they faithfully use, what's that card? Marriott. You brought up Marriott. Marriott.
Uh-huh.
Bonvoy,
Uh-huh.
Bonvoy, I
Yeah.
think. And then wait, anyway, let's talk. It's not about me. Let's talk about you. The Arsenals,
You good.
the
You good. You
Arsenals. What's like your card arsenal? Like what is it? Like
What's my card
whenever you're
arsenal?
going, yeah, you're going to like the Maldives and stuff. Cars that maybe some viewers may consider because
Okay.
the reason why I bring this up is to break the stereotype. For one, why this podcast was started, that we don't travel. That's not true. We do travel. And then two, you don't have to just come out of pocket with everything, but you need
Right.
to be responsible. There are
Absolutely.
cars out there. There are cars out there that can aid you into going to these places that you just recently went to. Yeah.
So I use Chase Sapphire Reserve. This card might not be for everybody because it has a large annual fee. I think it hit
Mm-hmm.
$6.95 last year as the annual fee.
Mm-hmm.
But you got to play the game. So the game is the card is like $695 a year for you to have it, but they give you a $300 credit. And if you spend wisely throughout the year, you could actually number could be negative because you're making so much money um in booking and making points and then using those points for travel that it probably in the end you don't really spend any money to have the card, but you got to use the card. So there it's like a rob Peter pay Paul. If you're looking for a card that is not as expensive, there's another card in my wallet. I use it rarely. It's a capital, the venture, I think it's venture one. I'm not
Yeah,
sure.
Venture One. Mm-hmm.
It's a
Yeah, you're
venture
right.
card
Mm-hmm.
for travel. I use that one secondarily, but I would recommend it for somebody who don't want to spend so much money on the annual fee for the card, but still want some pretty good travel perks. That's the kind of card that I recommend for them. Obviously, with the Chase Sapphire Reserve card, it comes with TSA PreCheck Global Entry. They do provide you with travel insurance for certain things. That's one of the things I learned on this last trip to France. There are certain things that they will and will not cover. And they will give you a little stipend if your stuff gets lost, if your luggage gets lost and you need to like buy stuff. I remember I got stuck in London and didn't have my bag. And so they gave me like $120 to go and get toiletries. So it has those little perks. A lot of people don't realize too that if you book from inside of the card, so like when you go onto the website, they have a travel section inside of the card. If you make your bookings from that area, you get 10 times the amount of points. As opposed to if you go to Expedia's website and you use your card there, I think it's 3 to 5 times the number of points, even though both of those are travel things. But if you did it from inside the app, you'd get 10 times the amount of points. So you gotta know the rules so you can play the game. Isn't that
Mm-hmm.
the motto for the day? The
That's the
no
motto.
rules
That's the motto for the day.
so you can play the game. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, those are my two big cards that I um, represent. I also didn't do a shout out for Expedia, but Expedia is also one of my plugs. They they have a lot of good deals on there. I also have a link on my website. If you want to get a discount whenever you're booking travel, you can use the link. Um, they have sometimes, not sometimes, a lot of the times I book through Expedia because they bundle a lot of stuff to save you money. So you can
Mm-hmm.
bundle your flight and your hotel or your flight and your rental car, and you
Mm-hmm.
can save money that way as well. Also, you rack up points that you can use to discount future vacations. So that's also a plug too. Um, yeah. And they have a variety of what I really like about them is that they have a variety of ways that you can stay, quote unquote. So if you're a hostel kind of person, they have options for that. And then if you want to stay at the Four Seasons, you can also they also have options for that too.
I gotta share the statistic, and I know you heard it before because you said you listened to a few, but every reaction is different. Every single reaction is different when I ask this question.
Okay.
But when you look at the whole conception of the U.S. and from an African American's perspective, from individuals that's in the diaspora, only 49% of African Americans in this country travel domestically.
Mm-hmm.
Only 17% of African Americans in the United States travel internationally. When I tell you these numbers, how do you feel about these numbers? When I tell you these numbers, how does it make you feel?
I'm not shocked. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I'm not shocked. I think there are lots of things that prohibit people from travel. Um, I feel like I want to see us travel more, mostly because I'm exhausted as being a delegate for for the Black community. I need more representatives. I need more representatives.
True.
I need more representatives. Because I alone cannot bear the burden of um carrying or representing the Black experience, or our experience as Black people is so, or people of color I should say, is so diverse that there's
Mm-hmm.
no way that my experience is going to aptly capture what it means to be Black,
Mm-hmm.
and so, or it means to be of color. So I want to see more of us out there, because then people can truly understand how diverse we are as a people, and um, that can only enrich other people and help them to advocate for us and all the good stuff that comes along with knowing a group of people.
Definitely, definitely. And I know for me, like going to these countries, like the the feeling that I get when I see somebody that looks like me, and it's like you don't even have to say anything. You
So,
just look at each other and you just like,
yeah, I
what
see
up?
you.
I see,
You just give them the chin nod. Yeah, what's up? I
yeah,
see.
like
What's
I
up?
see you, I see
Yeah,
you, I see you, I see you.
I see
And
you.
last but not least, first of all, I gotta say this. I gotta give you your flowers. Besides the detainment story, right, that broke the internet,
Right.
your content is amazing. You being a physician and you traveling all over the world, you're definitely an inspiration, to the culture. Um, and specifically to women of color as well, because a lot of your trips are solo. So
Mm.
stepping out, I gotta ask this question before we get off, but
Sure.
just a conception of how do you motivate somebody, and if you want to speak specifically to women of color, that's perfectly fine.
Okay.
um, but what would you say to people that's on the fence, about traveling internationally, whether that be the culture or whether that be specifically women of color? What type of motivation or words of encouragement could you give them to get them over that hump to say, hey, like just go out and venture,
Mhm. So I think
especially solo, because a lot of women are so nervous to do
you're right.
solo trips.
Yeah, I feel like this is the question that I get asked the most, believe it or not.
Wow, really? Okay.
Yeah, I think this is a question I get asked the most. I think they usually phrase it as, "Aren't you scared?" That's a question mark.
Mm,
Aren't you scared? And the answer is no, I'm not scared. I feel that the reason I think that women of color should travel is that the exchange is not just one way. As much as you are going into this environment to represent people that look and think and believe what you believe, this experience will also affect you. It will
mhm,
affect you in a largely speaking positive way. you're learning about them and they're learning about you, and that can only seek to enrich the two sides that are interacting. And so that's the biggest reason that I tell people that they have to get out there and see the world, because there's so much that you don't know, and it gives you so much exposure. It broadens your view. You come back with new ideas. You feel enriched. You realize that maybe America is not everything that it's cracked up to be, because I have felt the most loved and supported outside of the United States of America.
Yeah. Hmm.
Easily. I've and so I think that there is some fulfillment that comes from that, because sometimes I feel like in America, sometimes women of color oftentimes feels like, you're wondering what your place is here. We're probably
Hmm.
one of the more ostracized groups of people,
That's
and
true.
so it's interesting to go somewhere else in the world and get that feeling of fulfillment. And so if there is anything that I want to put in a little box and put a bow on it and give it to women of color, is this fulfillment exists for you. A feeling of belonging, a feeling of acceptance, a feeling of enjoyment, a feeling of peace. All those things exist for you. And they exist for you through this channel of travel. So that's kind of the big reasons that I encourage women to do it. And in terms of feeling scared, um, it's like going to the gym. Uh, the more reps you do, the stronger you get, the easier it becomes. And so I feel like when I started out, I was probably timid. I started out, well, I've been traveling since I was 13, but that's that's a different story. But I was probably nervous or anxious or uncertain about what to do, what happens if things don't go right. But as the more you do it, the better you get at it. And the more comfortable you get with it. So it's not anxiety provoking for me anymore like it was when I began. So I want these women of color who are traveling and who are looking to me for inspiration to realize that it's going to get easier. You get more
Right.
experience and it becomes easier.
Hmm.
And I want you to bank on the fact that for me, and for most of the people I know are women of color who travel, it's a largely positive experience. Um, and just remain open minded and also keep your head on a swivel, and keep your wits about you when you travel. So, there are some safety things, and I know we're running short on time. There are safety things
No,
that you
no.
do as a woman of color when you travel, just to make sure that you keep yourself safe. I feel that I actually learned this one from TikTok recently. If I find a link, I'll send it to you later. It's just things that you don't usually think about those things when you're on US soil, or maybe you do, but things like you don't tell people where you stay. Something simple like that. Like you don't tell
Hmm.
nobody, oh, we're at the Marriott. Or,
Hmm.
oh, I'm over at so and so Airbnb. Oh, you don't know one down by so and so street? You don't know any of these people. You
Right.
don't you're gonna send a band of people to come for you later. You don't know what's gonna go on. So you have to keep your wits about you. Um, one of the things I saw in the video that this person posted was like they wear a wedding band. And so, or things as simple as they ask for 2 room keys, because then they will think that there's a second party in your group. And so they're probably less likely to try to
Yeah.
attack you because they feel that you're there with someone.
Hmm.
Personally, I don't drink alcohol. So I am not inclined to stay out at night and live the vida loca when I'm traveling by myself. I'm probably more inclined to go and hang out in the middle of the night if it's me or if it's a group, because then there's safety in numbers. But there are just certain things that are just off the table for me when I travel as a solo traveler, as a female in a country that I don't know, especially if I don't speak the language. Um, and so there's just little tips and tricks that you can use to keep yourself safe. Um, one person said that they let the embassy know where they are whenever they're in a foreign country. I don't do that, but
Yeah, me either.
I
But I
let my
do. I do save the embassy number in my WhatsApp. I
oh
do
yeah,
that.
oh that part.
Yeah. Yeah.
I like that part
Speed
of it.
dial. Speed
Yeah,
dial. Try me.
911.
Try me. Try me. Embassy. Embassy.
911. Yeah. So that's important too. I think you should always let somebody know where you are. Um,
Hmm.
so if it's your mama and them, it can be that. But somebody should know where you are. I also turn on location services on my phone whenever I'm outside of the country. That's another one that you can use. So um, they don't even have to ask where I am, because they can track where I am on my phone using location services on Apple. Um, so yeah, little tips and tricks. I feel like I could go on and on and on about safety. Um,
No, you good. You good.
yeah,
This is great information.
yeah. So little things like that that you can do to keep yourself safe while you travel. I'll hit you with the post later, but she made the post in jest, but just it's just things that you probably don't think about, but you definitely have to be mindful of.
Yeah, man, this is absolutely amazing, and like I told you before, I really appreciate you coming on. I really appreciate your insight. Like this, guys, if y'all haven't got a tablet, look, I'm one of those people, right? Like tablet and pen is so many different gems that's been dropped on this episode, right? So many different gems. And again, I want to tell you again how much I just want to give you your flowers and tell you how much your content is amazing. Your story is amazing. Your profession, what you do to help people, to motivate people, not only women but the culture, right? And it is exhausting. I'm glad you brought that up because sometimes I'm shy to say that, right? It is
Yeah.
exhausting, y'all, and we do want to see more of y'all on these planes. We do want to see you more in these amazing countries. And the world is a book, and those who don't travel only reading one page, right? You're only reading one page. Get out there and see the world. Get out there
Yeah.
and see the world. But before I get off, I want people to know how can they connect with you.
Yeah.
How can they follow you? So
Right.
y'all can go to Tani, uh, Tani trips with Tani.com,
Uh-huh.
right? Tripswithtani.com,
Mhm.
or they can follow you under trips_with_Tani.
Yes.
All right.
So I want to take the time to say thank you. I have received my flowers today. Um, I hope that as my journeys continue, because 195 countries is a goal, 197 if you count and observer territories is a goal. I want to see it all, and um, I want to say thank you for having me on your show. You can go to tripswithtawny.com, and I'm on all social platforms. And so if you if you look for me, you'll find me. If you look for me, you'll find me. And all my socials are on my tripswithtawny.com page. And if you want to get a hold of me for any marketing reasons, it's also on my website. And if you want to email me, my website is on there. My email address is on that website too. So everything you need is on that site. So tripswithtawny.com. The itineraries, if you want to support a girl who's trying to start a business, do that. Um, and yeah, I think this has been a great show. I think that I'm excited to see what you do with the content that we've recorded. And I look forward to seeing how this grows. And then I can be like, oh my gosh, I was on that when it first came out. It
Yeah. Thank you. And
was
and like I
episode
said,
10.
I just thank you for seeing the vision and the concept of this, and it's truly what really truly inspired me also was the past 2 weeks, the connections with the alumni, right? I won't say who it is because she's very private. She's a very private person, but she
Okay.
actually met up. She actually met up with another guest on the show. They met
Uh-huh.
up on the East Coast, and she was very thankful of me inviting her to the show and how she was able to connect with the people. So I do have a network. We'll talk offline. I do have a network of all the alumni that's been on the show. We
Okay.
collaborate, we bounce ideas off of each other, and
Awesome.
some of us have already met each other already. So
Awesome. Awesome. I love that.
yeah, it's definitely awesome. It's awesome.
Stronger
And guys, oh yeah, stronger together.
together.
Definitely stronger together. Definitely stronger together. And again, I really do appreciate y'all, and I hope that y'all have gotten so much value from this episode. There's so many different gems that's been dropped. Y'all know my motto. I'll see you at the top because the bottom is just too crowded. Peace.
Hey, I hope that you enjoyed the episode because it definitely was dope to record it with that amazing guest. Tell a friend to tell a friend if you're really vibing with us. If you're feeling the episode and you really enjoyed it, make sure that you write a review on all the podcast platforms. Make sure that you follow The Melanated Traveler on Instagram. You can also check out the video podcast on my page at Aston R. Williams. And if you want to follow your boy, Aston R. Williams at all social handles. Again, this is the Melanated Travelers podcast, and I'll see y'all at the top because the bottom is just too crowded. Peace.